Committee on Drought Response, chaired by His Excellency the Deputy President, has convened regularly to review drought early warning updates, assess sector gaps, and prioritize interventions. This has enabled a timely allocation of resources to critical sectors, particularly water, livestock, and social protection, while mobilizing complementary support from development partners. Multi-sector technical committee formed under the Apex coordination structure consolidates sectoral drought impact data, identify priority response gaps, and coordinates the preparation and alignment of sector response plans. The committee has also support harmonized targeting across affected counties and provides regular program reports to guide strategic decisions at the Apex level. County steering groups, co-chaired by governors and county commissioners, are convening routinely to review local drought conditions, approve costed response plans, and synchronize government and partners' intervention. This structure guides geographical targeting of response interventions while minimizing duplication and strengthening accountability. The lower coordination platform at the sub-county and the ward level facilitates real-time information flow from communities, validate beneficiary targeting lists, and enable rapid adjustments of interventions in response to evolving conditions on the ground. Collectively, these mechanisms are ensuring coherent national to local coordination, strengthening accountability, and supporting a timely data-driven drought response. On the first question, when the government expects the ongoing drought response programs to stabilize the livelihoods of the most affected communities and the indicators that will be used to assess success. The prevailing drought has adversely affected the vulnerable population and their livelihood through acute water shortages for domestic and productive use, rising food and nutrition insecurity, and deteriorating of both livestock-based and crop-based production systems, which are dependent on rainfall. The current response measures are designed to cushion affected communities, affected lives, and safeguard core livelihood assets. These interventions are primarily relief-oriented and focus on enhancing household coping mechanisms or capacity, minimizing asset depletion, and preventing irreversible losses. They also lay the foundation for recovery once favorable climate condition returns. Stabilization of the livelihood is expected once adequate and well-distributed rainfall is received across the affected counties. Confirmed improvement will be evidenced when key drought monitoring indicators return to or trend towards the established long-term seasonal averages. The National Drought Early Warning Systems monitors and analyzes more than 50 indicators grouped into two broad categories: environmental indicators, including rainfall performance, temperature trends, vegetation condition, pasture and browse status, and water availability and access. The other indicator is socioeconomic, including food production and access, livestock productivity, malnutrition level, school attendance, drought-related diseases pattern, and conflict risk. During the drought period, these indicators deviate significantly from the long-term season normal average. Stabilizing of the situation will be considered achieved when indicators value demonstrates sustained improvement and aligned with normal seasonal benchmark.
Honorables, yes.
Yes.
You know, you have supplied the written response.
Yes.
So all the members do have a copy of your written response. If you can just summarize it so that we don't spend so much time
Okay.
on this.
Let me touch now the last question. On the long-term climate adaptation strategies, the government is implementing to enhance the drought preparedness and resilience and the current planned investment climate smart agriculture initiatives. The ministry is implementing a range of long-term resilience building initiatives aimed at reducing vulnerability to recurrent droughts. The following are the ongoing and planned drought resilience projects across the ministry. With the NDMA, through the NDMA, the ministry is implementing 5 projects across multiple ASAL counties designed to strengthen drought preparedness, enhance climate resilience, and reduce the long-term humanitarian and the fiscal costs associated with recurrent drought. The investment include water infrastructure, including dams, water pan, boreholes, piped system, irrigation, water supply, system to support sustainable agricultural production, livestock interventions such as livestock breed improvement, camel restocking, integrated livelihood system including value chain that incorporate processing facilities. And then regional authorities that also fall under my ministry. The regional development agencies under the ministry have undertaken the following climate adaptation initiatives. The government, through Lake Basin Development Authority, continues to strengthen drought preparedness and resilience through investment in climate smart agriculture and water infrastructure, including the Kimira Ulwatch smallholder farm improvement project. In the current financial year, the authority has implemented 15 water projects across the Lake Basin region and rehabilitated 15 kilometers of irrigation canal in Kimira, improved water distribution for smallholders farmers. These initiatives enhance reliable irrigation, promote climate resilient farming practice, and support increased agricultural productivity and food security in the face of climate variability. Through the Coast Development Authority, we have rehabilitated 95 hectares of mangrove agrosystem, coral fields, coral reefs, and seagrass ecosystems in the Kwale, resulting in the improved biodiversity and enhanced adaptation to climate change through the Kenya Climate Change and Adaptation Program. In Garsen, Tana, and other rivers, Development Authority is training farmers on climate smart agriculture, providing certified seeds and supporting sustainable land management. The Wasongiro tannery in Narok provides a crucial market for hides and skins from livestock that might otherwise perish or be wasted during the drought, allowing pastoralists to turn losses into income. Kerio Valley Development Authority has been promoting drought-resistant crops such as sorghum, grafted mangoes, and resilient pasture species such as African foxtail grass, which can thrive in areas where rainfall is minimal and can improve livestock productivity in the region. The gums and resin processing factory in Wajir County, with a processing capacity of 500 kilograms of gum resin per batch, is a beacon of untapped potential, offering sustainable nature-based livelihood for pastoralists, pastoral communities, reducing resilience and climate vulnerable livestock farming. Closing remark, as I do, Honorable Chair. I think the ones I've said are the key activities that I needed the House.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable
Thank you.
CS. Senator Enoch, you may ask a supplementary question.
I see excitement from Senator Mutinda. I don't know why. Mr. Speaker, first things first, Mr. Speaker, and the leader of government business in the House must listen to this. When cabinet ministers appear before the Senate, they must be properly guided, that they are not appearing before a committee, they are appearing before the plenary. It's embarrassing to the government that a cabinet minister comes on record, Mr. Speaker, and reads a response addressed to a committee of the House and a chairperson of the committee. it shows lack of seriousness. Because now from that point, then you wonder whether you really want to engage or you don't want to engage. Mr. Speaker, through you, the leader of government business in the House, Senator Cheriot, must have a session with these cabinet secretaries and tell them that they need to take the business of the House a lot more seriously. Mr. Speaker, I have quite a number of things that I need to... thank you. I have a number of questions, but I have only two that I'm allowed. First of all, the responses, Mr. Speaker, are completely underwhelming. You know, I will go to the response on question number 1, where she narrates on food and nutrition security situation on page 6 of her response, and gives us a narrative on the number of children aged between 6 and 59 months, and pregnant and lactating mothers, gives a number, and tells us that these people are acutely malnourished. The Speaker would have expected her to tell us what the government is doing about this situation, not to just paint a picture of a sorry state of affairs on malnutrition. So on that score, Mr. Speaker, I would ask that perhaps she could give us a detail on what is the government response to the malnourished children and the malnourished pregnant women and the malnourished lactating mothers, because he has given us the figures here. My second question, Mr. Speaker, is very disturbing. In our own classification of the status of drought in counties, she has said that there are some counties that are receiving unconditional cash transfers. Now, to my amazement, I'll give an example. Samburu is classified as a county where things are looking up, they're improving. But that county is receiving unconditional cash transfers. Kilifi and Kwale counties, Mr. Speaker, I will hesitate to talk about Kitui because then people will think I'm being biased. But Kilifi and Kwale are classified as being in the alarm status, and actually the situation is worsening. But they are not receiving the unconditional cash transfers. What is the explanation, Mr. Speaker? I thank you.
Senator Mwenda Gataya. Honorable CS, take no questions.
Madam Waziri, one would be interested to know the very specific measures you are implementing to ensure transparency and accountability in the allocation of drought response funds in other areas, including Tharaka, where I come from, and how do you track the flow of these funds to verify their effective use? In a rejoinder,
Senator Manzo, you're only allowed one question.
It's one question, Honorable Speaker.
No. Senator Manzo, proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Kitui and Makueni are described as stable, yet Kithuki Kitise Ward, Kalawa Ward, and Mavindini Ward, which borders Kitui, are very saline and a very difficult situation. Why will you describe them as stable?
Senator Mgatana.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Minister because she has come to Tana River when we were having very serious drought situation, and we appreciate that. We have not forgotten when you came to help us. The question I had, Mr. Speaker, is there a policy to treat low-lying counties such as Tana River, Garissa, and Lamu? Is there a national government policy on how to treat them during drought and during flooding. I say this because every time, Mr. Speaker, we see rains up there in the mountain and Aberdare area, we know in a few days we are going to have flooding, although we don't have rains. So we want to know, is there a proper preparation? Is there a proper policy of intervention for these low-lying counties? Because it's no longer an emergency, it's a cycle. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Generally, let me appreciate the Cabinet Secretary. But one question really baffles me, and I just need a clarity on it. Because it seems that in the long-term responses, the response from the Cabinet Secretary in terms of Narok County is on a post-mortem approach. When he says that the Wasonyiro Tannery in Narok provide a crucial market for hides and skins from livestock that might otherwise perish or be wasted during drought, allowing pastoralists to turn losses into income. That is not turning pastoralists' losses into income, but rather sentencing them to poverty. What is the long-term strategy that the government is putting to ensure that it can be able to deal with the issue of drought, not post-mortem response? Thank you.
Senator Mbugua.
Thank you, Speaker. Madam Cabinet Secretary, I would want you to tell this House what are the warning systems your ministry has put in place and how effective they have been in mitigating this menace. Thank you.
Senator Onyonka Richard. Senator Eddie Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In most of the response by the minister, I have seen a lot of responses with regards to interventions on things like cash transfers, food items, and any other things that look like sorting out basic needs. But I'm concerned, particularly in the case for Migori County, with regards to school-going children. As we speak right now, Mr. Speaker, in Kabuto Primary and even in Angugo Primary, kids cannot be able to go to school at all during this entire season. So I wanted to understand from the minister, what intervention are you putting for Migori County in particular, and perhaps to counties that are not dissimilar to Migori County, to school-going kids so that they don't have delayed schooling in the midst of these floods? What is the intervention that you're making sure that they'll be able to access schooling in safe ways that they don't even get swept by floods? I would be very curious about that, and particularly if you can take a case for Angugo and Kabuto areas in Nyatike constituency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mutinda Maureen.
Shukran Bwana Spika, na nimpongeze waziri kwa kufika na ripoti yake ambayo ameweza kuiweka wazi. Langu swali Bwana Spika ni hizi fedha 1.8 bilioni ambazo umeweza kueleza katika plenary hii yetu ya bunge ya kwamba ndizo pesa ziliweza kufikia wananchi. Ningetaka kujua ni kiasi kipi cha pesa kiliweza kumfikia yule mwananchi, na ni mikakati ipi ambayo mliweza kuweka kuhakikisha kwamba hicho kiasi ndio kimeweza kufikia huyu mwananchi. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Beatrice Akinyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. To the CS, you noted in your list of some of the isolated pockets of non-Asal counties, and particularly in Homa Bay, you noted North Kabwoch, which is in my constituency. I wanted to know what specific intervention you have for North Kabwoch over the interventions you have. And I expected, CS, that in Homa Bay you'd have the Karachuonyo area also part of your list, and Suba North. Thank you.
Senator Chirake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Through you, the Cabinet Secretary, on 28/12 of December 2020, the Office of the Auditor General did a performance on management of drought in Kenya through National Drought Management Authority. one of the recommendations, whether the recommendation of JOAG, especially status of the National Drought Emergency Fund regulations have been put place, and the issue of implementation on early warning systems. Are those recommendations by the Office of the Auditor General been implemented? Because, Mr. Speaker, this would have affected, because drought is a cycling issue that affected 3.3 million Kenyans. As those recommendations being implemented by the ministry? I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the Waziri that drought is actually a cyclic phenomenon today. And it happens almost every 2 years. What are the plans for the ministry? Because you're having so many ponds and small dams that dry in 3 months or 2 months. What plans for water harvesting? Especially, we have a lot of runoffs, like River Tana, River Wasanyiro, those that drain to all those arid lands. What major water harvest do you have does the ministry have? We have so many other countries, like Egypt, using our River Nile, and they have never gone hungry. So I think we need to have a bigger plan.
Senator Maithu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I must admit it's my first time to see and meet the Cabinet Secretary. My question, in terms of the responses to drought that the ministry has prioritized, one of them is cash transfer and food support. Now, I have a question in terms of how the strategy they use to do zoning, because some counties are regarded to be food secure, an example being Nyandarua, and some parts of that county specifically experience severe drought. The upper parts of Nyandarua, say in Daragwa, they experience severe drought. So I want to know the strategy they use to do zoning, to know the specific areas that are suffering from this severe drought.
Senator Seki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to ask the Cabinet Secretary on the issue of drought, particularly in areas of Litoktok, sub-county, Kajiado South sub-county. There is a project under the ministry, your ministry, through Wasonyiro Development Authority on tomato processing plant. It has stalled for many, many years. Would really want to know the status of that project because it's one of the mitigating factors on issues of drought.
Senator Mundigi.
Okay, asante Bwana Speaker. Swali langu kwa waziri, kulingana na hii data kunaonekana katika Embu County Mbere ni watu 14,800 ambaye wako na janga la njaa kubwa. Ni mbinu gani alitumia, kwa sababu katika Embu County sub-counties hata sile iko na chakula ama iko pande ya juu iko majani kahawa, lakini kuna mbali nyingine kuna silabu. Ni njia gani ulitumia kaweza kupata hii watu 14,800 kwa sababu ni watu kidogo sana? Kwa hivyo Bwana Speaker, hii data mimi nikiwa senator wa Embu County naipinga.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we are in the same boat with Senator Mundiki and Methu, because the lower Keria Valley, Bado, Vilgemarakwet County, they are both 4 wards. Soy North, Soy South, Lower Tambach, Lower Emso, Aror Ward, Lower Samprir, and Endo Ward. And the CS has been there several times, and she knows the challenges that we have. So I expected Elgeyo-Marakwet County to be here, as even despite we have maybe 2 or 3 rivers that serve small portions of the sub-county. Part of Soy, Keyo East sub-county and Kerevala sub-county, we have, it should be part of this report where even our schools are expected to be given food. The primary schools and the secondary schools should have food for the children so that they can attend school. So, Madam CS, you need to relook at this. I think there is a problem. Those are the areas that we expect to be considered as hilarious also.
Senator Nderitu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we know in this country, the smallest administrative unit is sublocation. So for this classification to be brought at county level, it does not capture well what's happening in our counties, Mr. Speaker. If you come to Laikipia, the area of Laikipia North, Mr. Speaker, we are getting drought, and many people are hardly having any food. So this classification, Mr. Speaker, is not correct. It's misleading. Not correct. It's misleading the Republic of Kenya. So what we need is the smallest administrative unit in this republic, which is sublocation. That one will capture very well what's happening in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Hezana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the Cabinet Secretary and her ministry for the cash transfers to Samburu County, despite our very marginalized condition compared to Kitui County. We appreciate it. But I would like to know if there are contingent measures to ensure long-term sustainable solutions. For example, provision of water and as an alternative means for livelihood, for pastoralists to venture into agriculture. Thank you.
Senator Kathuri.
Honorable Speaker, I'm trying to get that report through this machine, but I'm getting some challenges.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think if I was keen on what I said this ministry is doing in terms of providing the data, and the data is not solely produced by the ministry. It's a multi-sectoral affair. Partners like, for example, Red Cross and many other non-governmental institutions are partakers. The information that is informing whatever action we may have redirected to the relevant sectors is basically coming from the counties. Counties are found where we would as well say senators are coming from. So the information is a multi-sector approach. Many stakeholders are giving the information. And as an NDMA responsible within the State Department of Rural and Regional Development, our aim is to give the issues that would guide the many sectors, the many ministries, with what they need to do. So in terms of how we get the targets, there are levels, for example, on the cash transfer, issues like poverty level, among the indicators that would be used. On how we arrived at the 8, there were many parameters that if you'll give me time, I'll supply to the House the parameters of the first 8 counties that are benefiting from the cash transfers. And then thereafter, we were anticipating to add another 15 counties, County of Baringo, Kitui, Makueni, Meru, Narok, Taita Taveta, Lamu, Embu, West Pokot, Kwale, Kilifi, Nyeri, Tharaka-Nithi, and Laikipia. Within the very parameters that picked the 8, we were to expand it to this other one on the very variables that we were to look at in terms of who benefits. On how much an individual gets, within the cash transfer, individual gets 2,700 as a way of enhancing the family decision to make variance in terms of the choices of goods they would want to have and food they would want to have. Because I see most of the questions are revolving around the targets. And even, Mr. Speaker, even when we bring information here, these honorable members are allowed to help input on the matters that would guide the process positively. So even when we share and you feel like there are counties that need to be added for whatever reasons, actually that friendly interaction is very critical, that our offices are open. Senators are supposed to come and consult so that whatever information they need, what they want us to capture, we interact in that manner. Now let me touch some of the questions. Honourable members were a bit very fast, so I hope if I may not touch on the one that is critical to a particular senator, then be free to ask. The reason why we share this information is to inform the many ministries, to inform the stakeholders, the many coordinating organs that are doing this across the country.
Honorable CS.
Yes.
So that we make progress, just capture a senator and their question and respond. That way we'll move, we'll flow with ease. Don't be so general.
I'm guided, Mr. Speaker. On food security, why I was reading, actually I wanted to be firm with the information that I'm sharing with the Honorable House. So the senator who felt like I was not doing favorable thing by reading, I was actually giving information as it is, so that now I don't talk of other things outside. The concern of issues on schools, issues on, actually, as I said, as other ministries on education and children, because they seem to have been part of the concerns here, or the targets, actually that fall under another ministry of education. There are issues on nutrition, on women, on children, the lactating mothers, that falls under the health, and the many other stakeholders around the health. So the relevant ministries will respond to that. Why we were doing cash transfer on a hunger safety net program, it was a flagship project. So we are pursuing it, and we are increasing counties from 8, we are adding more 15 to make it 23. On drought and mitigation measures, accountability, actually the responsible units, the responsible ministries, the responsible stakeholders that afford to benefit from the cash that they are meant to mitigate the effects of drought, of course, have the obligation of being accountable as them and as ministries. Just the same way, the control measures of government make sure every ministry is accountable for the resources they have. I want to appreciate Senator Mungatana for the remark you made when we visited your area. And this is part of the things many senators know. We visit their counties. Maybe this is good of you, and I appreciate as a ministry. And as I see as that remark keeps the workers that work under us supporting the citizens of the country positive, because I know they're watching. So on national policy remain a national policy. It is implemented as being guided by the various needs. We will all implement and will abide by the recommendations that are given by the control measures that are put through national auditing units and the budgetary allocation units. So, Mheshimiwa Senator Ole Kina, on the long-term strategy on the tannery in Wasongiro South. Actually, the reason why we had to pick that one, because the question was directing us on the drought mitigation measures we are doing as a ministry. Of course, there are other things we are doing, but this one was responding to the things that happened at the time of the drought that the ministry is carrying over there. So the response was basically on the drought. On the utility of early warning by the ministry, actually what happens once, as I said, once the information is found within the satellites that are located in counties and sub-counties, advising the weather condition and the drought situation in every county, actually the information is shared with the many stakeholders. We share with the ministries, we share with non-governmental institutions, we share with partners, we share with counties, and the sub-counties equally, to advise on the likelihood of what to project in their planning. So our aim is to produce the data and then share with the relevant institutions that need to utilize it. Mheshimiwa Senator Sergei, on the recommendations by the Auditor General. Matters that are raised by the Auditor General's office are always taken keenly by ministries, and I believe I do in my ministry, and the other ministries equally pick those recommendations seriously. And we have no, provision to not to follow, we abide. Issues on water harvest. The government of Kenya is doing a lot of plans. The President of the Republic of Kenya has already directed ministries to do big plans in terms of the mega dams. And some of these mega dams are falling within ASAL counties as a mechanisms of water harvesting. Because at one time we are in drought, in another moment we are in floods. So downstream harvesting this water will stabilize the water tables in the systems of boreholes. Because the drought affects the recharge level of our boreholes. So this is one system of capturing waste that would go down stream without being utilized. So even reducing the effect of floods. When you have such a big flow of water, you are reducing the hazards or the havoc that come with it. So it is already within the bigger national agenda, within ministries that we do the mega dams. On the tomato factory that is in Kajiado, under Wasongero South. Actually, the constraints that we undergo sometimes as the implementers of the services of Kenyans is the constraints around the budgeting issues. Once you target a project and then you don't get adequate finance to facilitate, it makes sure that process slows a bit. But it does not mean it is not within the very best first intentions of getting it realized. I know the tomato factory is there. I had visited myself, and we had worked a way of making sure it functions, especially at the time that the rains are there and people are getting back to the farms. The tomatoes they get must get a place where it can be put into a value addition mechanisms. So on Embu counties, the 14,000 people that are targeted, Mheshimiwa Senator, the information we share is founded on the short and the long range. So long as the population that is supposed to be captured fall within the categories of the variables that we look into, or the parameters that guide on who benefits, we are free to engage the counties as it's been, so that they give us adequate data that is supposed to guide who benefits. But let's begin from there. And the very people that gave the 14 number as an indicator, 14,000, as the most vulnerable, would still had more, should there be more vulnerable that may have gotten left out. On Elgeyo Marakwet, yes, I've been there, I've visited, I know the challenges of the area. Actually, as I said, I think Elgeyo Marakwet is one of the counties we are intending to look at in terms of increasing the number and the areas to target. So, Asante, when I speak, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. Which was?
Mr. Speaker, I had asked, and I think the Cabinet Secretary was not able to capture my question, the strategy they used to zone the drought-prone areas, and I gave an example of Nyandarua North, the two wards that we have in Nyandarua that have suffered severe drought in the data.
Thank you, Mr. Senator. The strategy for zoning, especially around Nyandarua North, the classification process is done by CalRO, and the data we consume is basically coming from them.
Thank you. Are you done, Honorable CS?
Yes, I've answered the question the Senator had asked.
Thank you. Honorable Senators, I hope those responses have been helpful to you. Certainly they have not been helpful to me. But again, these are your questions. We have spent 1 hour on this question. Yes, Honorable Anna Kombo.
Give me the mic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is not my business to read the mood of the House. That's your work. But, Mr. Speaker, clearly, these questions have not been properly responded to. Mr. Speaker, is it possible for you to direct that maybe the CS goes and prepares herself properly to come and respond to these questions? They're important questions. They recur. You know, it's just something that happens this year, next year it will happen, so that we have a proper conversation based on real data from the Ministry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the answers by the CS is totally unsatisfying. Because I asked a question about whether the 2017 regulations on drought management fund has been enacted. The question should have been yes or no, or in progress. So can you direct us per standing order number 1, that the CS gives back this House comprehensive answers, because drought is a very serious matter. And Mr. Speaker, it's not an emergency. It is a recycle that normally happens every year. So can the CS go back and give us substantive and serious answers to the House?
Yes, Senator Kathuri.
Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with my colleagues that this data provided in this response, Mr. Speaker, does not meet the threshold of the drought-prone areas in this country. Mr. Speaker, when I check at the drought phase classification, the CS has classified Meru County as she's saying it still remains in the normal phase. Makueni, Nyeri, Embu, and Meru. Noting that, Honorable Speaker, Meru is 65% arid and semi-arid. And when you have that percentage of arid and semi-arid, it means still that when there is drought, that same proportionate of that county will be affected by drought, Mr. Speaker. So I am not very comfortable because the benefits that come with this data, it means also resources follow this data, Mr. Speaker. So I think, Honorable CS, I'm happy that a CS, a lady CS from Turkana can find herself in the cabinet. But Mr. Speaker, with that honor that the Turkana County has been given, let the CS come back with clear data on drought. Yes, that's why I've really nimempongeza, because Turkana County, having a woman in the cabinet is a big plus, Mr. Speaker. So I want to thank the government also of President William Ruto for considering a lady from Turkana to sit in the cabinet. And Mr. Speaker, in that respect, I want her not to come to give us the Senate the correct data. Like now, Mr. Speaker, we are affected by serious drought. On Monday, I was in one of the villages trying to give them some rice so that the schools can survive. So, Mr. Speaker, with the correct data, our people will get the right support, our communities will be able to get the right support. Mr. Speaker, if she can go to Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, she can be able to get the right data for this country, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you. Now, Honorable CS, listening to the concerns raised by the Honorable Senators, clearly your responses to their questions remain unsatisfactory, and therefore the Senate will communicate a date when you will come back to this plenary for purposes of giving satisfactory responses to all the concerns that have been raised. For today, we will allow you to go back, but a date will be communicated to you when you will come. Hopefully, when you come next, you'll give us satisfactory responses to these questions. You are free to leave the chamber, Honorable CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Chairman, honorable members, or Speaker, for that matter, the government remain fully committed to protecting lives and livelihood while strengthening long-term resilience to drought and climate shocks. We will continue to work closely with county government, development partners, humanitarian projects, or project agencies to ensure that the drought response remains timely, coordinated, and responsive to evolving conditions on the ground. I thank you, honorable senators, for your guidance. I'm obliged to take your guidance, Mr. Speaker, and thank you so much. May God bless Kenya, may God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. You are now free to leave. Now we move to question number 0110 directed to the CS Blue Economy and Mining. That question is deferred. We will move to the 3 questions directed to the CS in charge of education, and I'm informed he is present. Clerk, kindly usher in the CS in charge of education.
Welcome, CS, to this session, to the Senate. But before you start giving responses, let me make the following communication. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge in the presence in the public gallery this morning, a visiting delegation from Mangina University College in Gatundu, Kiambu County. The delegation comprises 10 students and 1 staff who are visiting the Senate for an academic exposition. Honorable Senators, on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful and enriching visit. Thank you. As our tradition, maybe the majority leader or the majority leader. And let us have the deputy minority leader. Students from Mangina University College in Gatundu, Kiambu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to join you and on behalf of my colleagues, welcome the students from Mangina in Gatundu to the Senate of the Republic of Kenya and tell them that they have made the right choice to visit the upper house, and especially at a time, Mr. Speaker, it's so timely that the CS in charge of education is appearing before the Senate to respond to issues on education. So it's going to be an interesting time for them to interact with the session and learn as much as they can through this session. The Speaker, with those remarks, I welcome them.
Very well. CS, we have 3 questions. One from Senator Wambua, question 006, and 2 from Senior Counsel, Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, 007, and question number 008. So let us start with a question from Senator for Nairobi County. Edwin Sifuna. That question will be asked by his colleague, Senator Wambua from Kitui County. Proceed.
I thank you once again, Mr. Speaker. I'm asking this question on behalf of my colleague, Senator Edwin Sifuna. I guess it's now the right time, Mr. Speaker, to say, for this purpose, Mimi ni Sifuna. Mr. Speaker, why are junior secondary schools not autonomous and distinct from primary schools, despite JSS boards of management operating separate accounts for JSS functions? Question number 2, why are heads of primary schools who are neither trained nor legally mandated to supervise graduate JSS teachers being tasked with managing JSS alongside their primary school duties, despite concerns over management conflicts and calls for administrative independence? And question number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary also explain the career progression guidelines applicable to all teachers, including those serving in the junior secondary schools? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, proceed and then give the response.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members, for the invitation to respond to these questions. And Mr. Speaker, I beg to respond to the 3 questions, or the 3 aspects of that question as follows. Mr. Speaker, the matter of the domicile of junior schools was considered by the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform. The Working Party engaged various stakeholders and sought their submissions. The stakeholders engaged include teachers' unions such as the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, the Kenya Union of Teachers, the Kenya Union of Special Needs Education, and members of the public in general. Mr. Speaker, 93% of the submissions received by the Working Party recommended that junior school be hosted in existing primary schools. Only 5% of the submissions recommended the hosting of junior schools in existing secondary schools, while 2% suggested new schools for junior school. Mr. Speaker, the Working Party analyzed the merits of hosting junior school in existing primary schools as opposed to secondary schools or having them as autonomous institutions. It was noted that junior school learners would experience psychosocial challenges in settling down and integrating with secondary school learners who are relatively older. Cost considerations were also a justification, since Standard 7 or Grade 7 and Standard 8 classrooms would be unoccupied. Thus, it was considered most cost-effective that constructing new classrooms would not be a prudent way of spending government money. The government sought to maximize the use of available classrooms and facilities in primary schools instead of building entirely new secondary school complexes across the country. Mr. Speaker, resources would only then be needed to construct specific additional spaces such as laboratories in existing primary schools. Mr. Speaker, domiciling junior schools in primary schools was also designed to facilitate a smooth and universal transition for all grade 6 learners to junior secondary education. This is because domiciling junior schools in existing primary schools meant learners did not have to travel long distances, thus addressing distance as a critical factor that would affect student well-being and attendance, particularly for vulnerable and marginalized children. The report therefore recommended that junior schools be domiciled within existing primary schools. In fact, the report recommends the establishment of comprehensive schools up to grade 9, headed by one head of institution. This, therefore, Mr. Speaker, is a recommendation that the ministry is implementing. To inform the implementation of junior school in existing primary schools, the ministry developed guidelines for the implementation of junior secondary education in January 2023. The guidelines set out the framework for the overall management of junior schools in terms of administration, governance, infrastructure development, and curriculum implementation. In line with the policy position and the guidelines in place, primary and junior schools have one head of institution and one board of management that oversee the governance and management of the school. The operation of separate accounts is not designed to indicate autonomy or separation between primary and junior schools. The two levels of basic education are funded at different rates in terms of capitation, with primary school learners funded at the rate of 1,420 per learner per year, while junior schools are funded at the rate of 15,042 per learner per year. The vote heads for the utilization of these funds are also different. Thus, for purposes of financial planning, accountability, and audit, the accounts for junior school and primary school are kept separate. Mr. Speaker, our heads of institution are regularly capacity built to discharge their administrative roles effectively. Through the Teacher Service Commission, the government continuously retools heads of institution managing both primary and junior schools on key aspects of institutional administration, teacher management, and the implementation of the junior school curriculum. Support is also provided by TSC and the Ministry of Education to all our field officers. The teacher induction, mentorship, and coaching programs have also been institutionalized across all public basic institutions, including junior schools, to strengthen professional practice, improve instructional leadership, and ensure that newly deployed junior school teachers receive the necessary mentorship and support for effective curriculum delivery. In terms of career progression guidelines, guidelines were adopted in 2015 to 2016 by the Teacher Service Commission in consultation with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission that conducted a job evaluation for all the teachers. And based on the findings of the job evaluation report, the SRC rendered a formal advisory under Article 230 of the Constitution, proposing a remuneration structure for teachers in the public service. After the job evaluation, the Commission signed the 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreement with the teachers' unions purposely to anchor the findings of the job evaluation results. The adoption of the new remuneration structure and the new CBA necessitated the development and implementation of a new teachers' career progression guidelines to align with the new grading structure to the career progression of the teachers. To this end, Mr. Speaker, the Commission developed through a consultative approach the new career progressive guidelines of 2018. The career progression guidelines have a comprehensive and definitive career progression framework for primary school teachers, secondary school teachers, teacher training college lecturers, and special needs education teachers. The guidelines outline the qualifications, the skills, competencies, and experience required for advancement in the profession by setting out the minimum requirements for selection, appointment, and promotion of teachers at different grades. Under the competency-based education system, the curriculum content for the learners in junior school is of secondary school level, which can only be taught and implemented by graduates trained as secondary school teachers. To this end, therefore, all teachers teaching in junior school hold the training skills and competencies and qualifications for secondary school level curriculum delivery. To underscore this position, the appointment letters issued to teachers stationed in junior school, which forms a contractual foundation with the Commission, clearly states their grades and all designations as secondary school teacher 2 as per the Career Progression Guideline 2018. In terms of career growth and progression, junior school teachers, being secondary school teachers, progress under the secondary school career progression framework set out under the Career Progression Guidelines. It must be clarified that the grading structure and career progression of junior school teachers should be distinguished from their place of work. For all intents and purposes, junior school teachers, regardless of their place of work, are secondary school teachers by training, qualification, skills, and competencies, and are treated as such for their career progression. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua, since wewe ndio Sifuna, do you have any supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, we will ignore the remarks being made from across the aisle, and I will proceed to do as directed by the chair. Yes, I have two supplementary questions. One is on the issue of the retooling of the heads of institutions being called comprehensive primary schools. Mr. Speaker, the truth of the matter is that the head teachers in these primary schools are being called upon to carry out governance and administrative duties of actually 3 segments of very important levels of education. We have ECD teachers or classrooms in those primary schools. We have primary schools in the same institution. We have junior secondary schools in the same institutions being headed by a single teacher who initially had been recruited as a primary school head teacher. Mr. Speaker, what kind of retooling would equip that officer to discharge the mandate of those 3 levels effectively? Would retooling be the right thing to do, or real serious training through a curriculum developed by maybe the relevant authorities? The second question, Mr. Speaker, is also on the junior secondary schools. The Speaker, just recently there was a ruling by the court on the matter of the absorption of intern JSS teachers in our institutions of learning, and that the court was unequivocal, Mr. Speaker, that the recruitment of those teachers who are trained, they have TSC numbers, and they are being absorbed as interns, Mr. Speaker, is illegal and discriminative. What is the ministry doing to ensure that those teachers, the GSS teachers, are absorbed on permanent and pensionable basis? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. CS, you can answer that, those 2 supplementary questions. First.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The retooling that is being undertaken by the teachers of these institutions is a curriculum that has been developed by the Kenya Education Management Institute that is of a diploma level, and which these heads of institutions are undertaking in order to be able to offer governance in these particular institutions effectively. And it is continuously being done to improve their capacity so that they are able to manage the institutions accordingly. On the second issue, it is true, Mr. Speaker, the Court of Appeal has determined that the policy on internship for teachers is null and void. And this ruling was rendered recently. As we speak, the TSC, the ministry, is studying this particular ruling and is in the process of coming up with the steps that need to be undertaken to ensure that we abide by that court ruling. There might be some financial and budgetary implication on obeying it, and once we determine the extent of the legal and financial implication, we will then move as required to ensure that we obey that court ruling. Thank you.
Maybe the Honorable CS this House I'm chairing would like to know the exact numbers that are in internship program, the exact figure.
Yes, the exact number of the interns that are affected by this ruling are 44,000.
Now let's get a round of supplementary questions. We start with Senator Wakili Dale Sigei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Partly the question that has just been answered by the CS was the one I needed to ask, and I'm happy that it's given us the statistics in terms of the number of the internship teachers who will be affected by the decision of the Court of Appeal. But then, Honorable CS, with regards to the career progression guidelines, you have run us through the policy direction the Commission has taken, because when you were explaining the effects of retooling under the domicile JSS teacher in a primary school, the career progression guidelines, I participated in crafting them in 2015-2018 CBA. How is it applicable? Because I recall that there was a problem as regards the cost implication, and now in the change in the model of the career path that our teachers, vis-a-vis, of course, the education from 844 to where we have transitioned to, how is it then that we are still applying? In your response, you did indicate that the Commission and the Ministry are seeking to rework on the policy. Before that CBA was signed, SRC, Commission, and the Ministry was applying the policy guidelines of 2018, I believe 2018-2020, if I'm not wrong. You did not, in your explanation, highlight that that is the one that is still applicable, or we have since fully transitioned to a new CPG on the career progression of the teachers. I would be glad to hear from you on that aspect. Thank you.
Let me get two more, then you can answer from Senator Manzo Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, now that the CS is a lawyer, and he has agreed totally with the guidance of the Court of Appeal, that's why they have not given notice of appeal. Does he agree with me that the JSS curriculum is unconstitutional in the sense that it has caused discrimination in the country in terms of the facilities needed to take a child through school, things like computers, availability of electricity, and the extracurricular activities, where many children in the rural schools are totally unable to match with the one in the developed areas or the city schools. Does indeed then mean that the ministry must do something with this unconstitutional situation? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I hope you are noting the questions, Senator Chelege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Although you have asked the question, but let me re-emphasize. Through you, Mr. Speaker, in addition, the CSR said there are 44,000 teachers on internship. And he's cagey on disclosing what is the financial implication and budgetary, because he cannot tell us he wants to comply with the court ruling without telling us in supplementary one in the National Assembly whether they have requested for how much will cater for this internship and how will the transition happen from interns to permanent and pension. Because, Mr. Speaker, some people, or we know some interns might be politically correct to be transited, discriminating some of them, Speaker. And in this issue of career progression, have they been retooling interns or teachers on permanent and pensionable? And Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, what is the status? Because I have seen teachers complaining about provision of medical cover, especially under social health authority.
You have only one supplementary
just with your indulgence, standing order number one, because teachers have been calling me.
Ask you 5 questions in one
No, Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, standing order number one. Mr. Speaker, many teachers have been calling me to find out what is the status of the medical cover to teachers, especially under social health authority. If you can comment on it, I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the indulgence.
Honorable CS can answer those 3 supplementary questions, then we can get another round.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The career progression guidelines are the ones that were developed in 2018 and under the CBA of 2017-2021, they were incorporated. And as I indicated, the career progression for junior school teachers is that of the secondary school teachers. So they are taken as secondary school teachers, although they are domiciled in primary schools because of their qualifications and their skills and competencies. On the question of the CBC being unconstitutional, it is not. 90% of the schools already have sufficient facilities. In fact, as we continue, as we speak to date, the ministry is undertaking the construction of 1,600 labs to ensure that the schools that do not have these labs have them. So the ministry is doing everything possible to ensure that all schools have the necessary infrastructure to support the curriculum so that none of our students in any areas of our country is discriminated against. I indicated with respect to the intern teachers, the 44,000 of them, we said we have received the ruling. We are studying the ruling to understand the legal and financial implications in order for us to comply with it. And I did indicate that it will have budgetary implications, financial implications, and once we understand the extent, we would then make the necessary requisitions, whether in supplementary or for financial year 26-27, so that we can be able to comply with it and meet the necessary requirements under it, because this was a Court of Appeal decision. With respect to the issues relating to the teachers having a problem with SHA, there is a meeting that is already taking place within the Ministry of Health and KUPPET to handle that issue and ensure that we don't allow it to become a crisis. So discussions are being discussed to ensure that whatever challenge that they are facing is resolved. As we speak, that meeting is taking place. Thank you.
So let's get another round. Senator Ogola Beatrice Akinyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. CS, on the capitation which you mentioned earlier, it is a new year and schools are uploading details of learners into NEMIS, which has been changed to CHEMIS, which in itself is not accessible. Won't this make other learners miss out on capitation? Honorable Speaker, I say this because grade 7 have just been admitted into junior secondary schools and their details cannot be entered into CHEMIS, the new system.
I can see Senator Betty Montaigne, but I want you to first listen to members because you chair the Committee on Education so that you can come later. Yes, please. Senator Joe Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise because I feel that the CS has not responded adequately on question number B, Mr. Speaker, because the question was administrative independence of junior secondary schools or junior schools. The answer that we have received here, Mr. Speaker, is that the former primary school head teachers are being retooled. But, Mr. Speaker, there is a reason why, I don't know whether it is still there, why we had a Bachelor of Education primary option and Bachelor of Education secondary option, Mr. Speaker. And so it's important for the CS to clarify exactly what the ministry is doing to see to it that there is no conflict. Because, Mr. Speaker, when a teacher who is trained to teach in secondary school has a very different type of training from a teacher trained to handle primary school learners. And you know, when you are managing an institution, you're also managing teachers. So exactly, I mean, the issue of independence of junior school would be very important, Mr. Speaker, so that the head of a junior school is also trained as a secondary school teacher to be able also to assess the workings of these teachers and the management in general. So exactly what, apart from retooling, is the ministry doing to see to it that there is that independence of junior school from primary school. And attached to that, Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, you know, now what we are calling the primary school, as it were, it is managing, or it has 9 cohorts. That is grade 1 all the way to grade 9. We need massive skills to manage that kind of an institution. And so maybe the CS should clarify exactly what are we going to do, because there are conflicts between teachers serving in junior school and the administrators who are trained as primary school teachers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The CS has noticed the passion that you have, noting that with a former chair education.
And a teacher by training.
And a teacher by profession.
And practice.
And an educator. Senator Onyonka Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like, first of all, to say I appreciate the effort that the CS has made in trying to clarify the 3 items. One being that it is true, as we've been saying, that there has been an issue with SHA when it comes to matters teachers. And number 2, the JSS issue, Mr. Speaker, you're aware, has been a very, very passionate issue. It is an injustice. It is a matter that we've been talking. So I'm really happy that finally the government has agreed to look at the ruling which came from the courts. I wish the government had sorted out this issue without us going to courts. And I've heard the CS say that the intervention he intends to bring forth includes the possibility of having a supplementary budget, or indeed, as right now we are sitting on the BPS and we are discussing, and I see some of my colleagues in the finance committee, that let us make sure that money is actually allocated, because we know the ruling has been made and we are aware that the teachers are suffering, and you know you can only receive a product depending on what the input is. If the input is lackluster, if the teachers feel that they're being violated, will not receive the best. So I want to thank the CS for insisting on this, and please let us make sure that this matter of the JSS teachers is sorted as soon as possible. And finally, Mr. Speaker, on the same tangent, I would like to actually plead with you. You allow me to ask the CS. CS, I believe in institutions. I've been talking about institutions. Can we please have your ministry conduct an audit, an HR audit, on the total number of teachers that are employed in the Republic of Kenya, both in private and public schools, and institutions, including the current teachers under JSS, so that then, Mr. Speaker, as the House, we are able to now talk when we know what the exact data is. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, you know, a supplementary question is not a debate or a congratulatory message. It shouldn't be a supplementary question because you have two more questions and I can see time is really not with us. And these questions are almost related. So let us get the next two questions, then the CS can answer them because they are almost related on JSS. We go to Senator Mgatana Danson.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to congratulate the minister because he uses, I have seen him use the national broadcaster to explain a lot of the issues that are bothering Kenyans. And I think he should keep it up together with the visits that he makes to various counties. However, Mr. Speaker, my question is, how does he balance his visits to various counties? I have never seen him in Tana River County. That's number one. Number two, there is Hola Boys Secondary School, Mr. Speaker. This is the only boys' national schools of the county, the only one. I wanted to make the minister see that even as he undertakes to visit, please do something about the infrastructure of that school, particularly the fence that has gone down. Mr. Speaker, our minister is a hard-working minister. He has also the infrastructure fund. Can he find a way to make sure his visit to Tana River, which I know he will promise here today, will benefit Hola Boys Secondary School infrastructure, in particular the fence? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mutida Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and also allow me to also appreciate the Minister for Education for his quick response with his counterpart, the PS. I've always noticed that anytime I need clarification, there is always quick response. Shukran. My question, Mr. Speaker, was in regards to clarification that my colleague, Senator Nyotu, had earlier sought. And I wanted to state in the report or the response that the minister has given, this response from the stakeholders, the 93%, was more on the structures, talking about the primary has the grade 7 and 8 classrooms and all that. But what the question needed and the response we are waiting for is much more on the leadership of JSS, independence. I don't know if it's at this time you'd be proposing to Parliament, then we amend the law and bring about the curriculum in terms of a bachelor's degree, JSS category, instead of like we have the primary category and then we have the secondary category. Do you feel we have a gap and we need to legislate as far as the bachelor's JSS category is concerned? Recently we had the PS talk about ghost learners. What is the current status of that particular report that you aired, that you have ghost learners? How far have the investigations gone? And lastly, how many GSS teachers do you have? Because as government, as yesterday the president we were having the parliamentary group, the president stated, and which I confirm, over 100,000 teachers have been employed. How many are GSS teachers? How many are primary? And how many are secondary? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Emaletian Ezena.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to agree with Senator for Tana River that indeed the CS has quite forgotten some parts of this country. I have never seen him in Samburu, yet there is a lot of disparity happening as in the education sector as far as public schools are concerned in Samburu. Mr. Speaker, I would like to know what are the measures the ministry or the CS has put in place to ensure that the systemic inequality in the marginalized areas of Kenya, like Samburu County, are addressed in public schools, and as far as education is concerned at large? Thank you.
CS, you can answer now all those interventions.
The breakdown. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for those questions. On the question of capitation, the question of capitation, institutions uploading, we have for the first time were able to release capitation this time before the schools opened. And we've had the new system called Chemis coming into play, and we are training all our head teachers on how to utilize that particular system so that they do not have the similar problems they had with NEMIS. We are training their teachers, and we are training 3 champion teachers in each institution so that we have enough capacity of all our teachers to be able to input the data of the students on time for us to be able to release capitation to the schools on time. We have requested them to reach out to our institutions, to our headquarters, if there is a problem, and solutions are given to them. They get assistance from our IT teams so that that particular problem ceases to exist because it was predominant in the previous system. So what we are assuring you is that going forward, we are resolving that challenge of the capitation, and one of the ways that we did it was to do the verification exercise, which has now given us the exact numbers of the students we have in each grade. The exercise we did, we got numbers from each grade, we got how many female are there, how many male, how many special needs, so that going forward we don't have that problem of ghost learners, and I'm coming to answer that question when I answer Honorable Sabina's question. So capitation, we are handling it, and we are intending to ensure, not Sabina, I'm sorry. Senator Mutinda, Tabitha, yes, Tabitha Mutinda, sorry, I think somebody was on my mind. Now, on the question of the administrative independence of the JSS teachers, as I've indicated, junior school teachers are actually secondary school teachers, only domiciled in primary schools, and the curriculum is definitely secondary. It is true that there is a conflict in terms of the governance and in terms of administration. As a ministry and as TSC, and we've recognized that problem. And we have created scenarios. There's a paper, board paper that has been prepared with a number of scenarios on how do we resolve that conflict. One of the options that is being recommended, and if it goes through, then ensure that a policy comes, or a regulation comes, or a change of law comes, is that we would probably have a principal for JSS and a head of institution for primary. So we'll then work on the regulations and the policies that will ensure there is a smooth running of that section. So that paper has been done. It's going through the various stages, and once we reach a level where we require to be a policy or a regulation, we'll present it. We've recognized that problem and want to ensure that there's smooth running in our institutions. But before that, because we didn't have them, we had to retool and train the head teachers to be able to keep running the institutions so that we don't come to a halt. That's what we did. We came up with programs with Kemi and various governance training, because administration and governance cuts across, so that at least the institutions keep going. So that's where we are. As I said, it's going through the process that will bring it here. As I said, when we have a problem in this particular ministry, we face it. Where we need support, we come, we get that support, and we resolve it, because we are all want a system in education that works. On the question of Honorable Onyonka, with the issue relating to an audit of the teachers in this country, it is ongoing as we speak. One of the things that we discovered is that everybody who has a TSC number was looked at as an unemployed teacher. And Senator Nyutu is here, he's a teacher with a TSC number which he has never returned, but now he's looked at as an unemployed teacher. So when we give the data for the unemployment of teachers, we include him. So we have the wrong data. So that exercise is now being undertaken, and I think there was an advert by TSC for all the teachers with TSC numbers to go into the portal and indicate what they are doing currently, so that we can now have a proper data of all the teachers that are employed by TSC, all the teachers that are in private employment, and all the teachers who've since left that particular profession to do other things. So we will be able to avail that once the exercise is completed. Tana River, yes, I have not been able to come to Tana River, and actually I intend to do so, as you correctly predicted, and maybe we need to start with Hola Secondary School. So what I would suggest is the principal to write and request for some support, because that then becomes the basis upon which we can act. Then when we come, we'll come with something, and then we discuss the issues that are facing that particular area. It is an area that we need to do affirmative action on. I'm being advised that all the 106,201 teachers that have been employed in the last 3 years are all JSS teachers. 44,000 of them are interns, and 62,201 have been placed in permanent and pensionable terms. With respect to the question of Samburu and what the ministry is doing to ensure that the systematic inequality is addressed, what we are doing currently is using the data that we have, for example, of the transition of grade 9 to grade 10, to determine what support we need to do for the schools in the areas that are, quote unquote, the marginalized areas, one of which is the building of low-cost boarding schools, and we have NACONEC handling this, and of course through the school feeding programs, so that going forward we have schools in those areas that are capable of supporting a large number of students in one place where we have everything that is required for that school. For instance, we transitioned 18,000 students in the 3 northeastern counties, which averaged about 6,000 students per county, which means if we did 3 or 4 fully infrastructured schools in those areas, we can be able to support the students from there so that they are not disadvantaged. So that's what we are doing as a ministry, using the data that we are collecting in order for us to be able to determine which support to give in a manner that is sustainable and that is secure. Thank you.
Senator Betty Montet, Chair Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, please allow me first to thank the CS on the responses he brought to the House, and also on the satisfactory responses on the supplementary questions honorable senators brought. Mr. Speaker, let me now ask the CS whether it can confirm to this House whether it is true that the national schools were allowed to admit grade 10 double streams or more because of the space created by the 1-year gap that which was caused before the grade 10s were admitted, and other schools have no students. And for this matter, the ministry is looking at closing these schools. And also, how will the ministry treat this situation in the next year, 2027? Thank you. I submit.
Senator Dulo Fatuma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to ask on ECD teachers whether the ministry keeps the standard, and also who does the inspection, because if you go to the counties, most of those ECD teachers are actually demoralized as far as salary is concerned, and these are the teachers who actually build the foundation of our children at that younger level. And if they are demoralized, they will not be able to assist those children. So I believe even if the work is left to the county government, the standard should be left with the ministry, because I'm sure most of the counties might not have qualification as far as the standard is concerned. But I want to know who actually does the inspection of what is happening in the counties as far as ECD is concerned. If I may give an example of Isiolo, you can imagine some of those kids are actually learning under trees. And if a kid is learning under a tree, at the end of the day, you don't expect much from them. I thank you.
Professor Margaret Kamal, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Waziri, for the responses. I just wanted to ask a question on the actual teaching of the grade 10s, because these are pioneer classes. What is the situation as far as the technical courses are concerned? And what timelines do we have for providing the technical teachers in these schools? When do we expect to have them fully taught the courses that are in their curriculum? Thank you.
CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can confirm that a number of C1 and C2 schools, in fact, all the schools, did admit more students than the placement that they had indicated, because of the fact that they did not have Form 2s in place. As a matter of fact, we had 2.4 million vacancies available, but we only had 1.13 grade 9 students. So it was possible that most of the schools did admit students slightly more than what they are normally used to. And this is because the policy in admission and placement is that the students select the schools that they want to go to. So of course this brought about the fact that a good number of schools did not get any grade 10 students. To be exact, 330 secondary schools did not get grade 10 students, and 2,400 schools got less than 20 students. We've just received the exit report, and we want to form a technical team to discuss how we are going to handle these schools if this is a trend that is likely to continue, and that will inform also other policy changes with respect to the schools that are admitting more students, or the schools that many people want to go to. So it is a conversation that is in progress and will probably involve all of us, including members of parliament and yourselves and the public and all education stakeholders. What will this do eventually is to ensure that we have the right number of schools to support our students. In 2005, I think we had only 2,500 secondary schools. When the free primary education came about, it exploded to the current 9,540. Now with this 330 not having students, they are from, of course they are from 3 and from 4, and the 2,400 that have less than 20, it means we have 7,000 or so schools that are now being sought after. So what we are likely to see is a situation where the system recalibrates itself so that we have the right numbers for the number of students that we have in the country. With respect to the ECD, the counties have quality assurance officers who do the inspection of those schools, although the standards and policies are from the Ministry of Education. I think in another 1 or 2, this month, I think there is a meeting of stakeholders between counties and the ministry and TSC to work on this issue of ECD so that we can align and harmonize, because those are the students that we receive and we receive to primary school, so the foundation has to be right. We've agreed to have a meeting with the county officers through the COG so that we can work out a structure and harmonize how we handle ECD so that there is no discrimination or there is no standards that are applied differently to the teachers that are in our schools or the teachers that are in ECD and counties. The question of the technical teachers, what we have found out is that 51% of the students that were transitioned to grade 10 are taking STEM, 38% are taking social sciences, and 11% are taking sports science. And we are working now on the actual number of the students who are taking the technical subjects, and we intend to work with the TVETs to ensure that we have enough teachers from there to come and support us in the technical subjects that may not have had teachers directly employed by TSC to handle those subjects. So as we get the data, we are now working towards ensuring that we have the right capacity of the individuals, of the trainees or the trainers to go there. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Kamar.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. I was waiting for the second part of the question from our Chair of Education on what happens next year. Because if these big schools decided because of space to take the students, so what happens next year? If they offload them, where will those children go? Because if we start thinking about the school that doesn't have children, because it is, it's not that the children don't exist, but by allowing the big schools to use their space, we have created empty classrooms in almost all day schools. I wanted the minister to tell us whether they are going to, what's going to happen next year. Because next year then, these schools will be full anyway, so they will not be interested in additional students. And if we allow that kind of yo-yo policy, it is really going to kill the system.
Now we are going to the next question, but just 1 minute kindly. Then we go to the next question. And also you are doing your second supplemental on the same question.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, this matter is very important, and sorry, and thank you for your being gracious to us with Professor Kamar and the others to get a clarification on this matter, Mr. Speaker. Because what is happening is that most schools are basically dying, and we are faced with a situation of just the big schools operating. And it is not very true, and I don't want to accuse the CS of telling falsehoods. It is not very true that these big schools, and I'm glad the chair raised it, that these big schools had that capacity. In fact, Mr. Speaker, some of them have students even sleeping in dining halls. So I think this is a matter that needs clarity, Mr. Speaker, because we either then close all the schools that have, small numbers of students, and then decide that in this country, we just want to operate big schools. Or Mr. Speaker, have the B schools operating within their capacity and allow small schools also to admit students. We just have to make a decision. And I saw the CS another day saying that he's considering merging some small schools. So I think it's important that we get that clarification. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for indulging me, because this is an important matter of national interest, Mr. Speaker.
CS, make clear those clarifications.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said, we have just gotten the exit reports. So we have not made a decision on what we are going to do with those schools and what policy we are going to come up with. Because as I said, we want to be able to make decisions, policy decisions that are based on data and on evidence. We don't want to say, for example, because we want to support small schools, they should be allowed to remain. Or we don't want to say, because we want to support senior schools, we leave these ones to close. So we look at everything, including distances between schools, and see what is the best way to solve that challenge. What this particular placement has done, it has forced us to look at our policies afresh. It has forced us to interrogate the decisions we were making. It is forcing us to find out the schools that, for example, we keep opening, are they viable? So these are decisions that are going to be based on the data that we get, and all of us, and as I said, all the stakeholders will have a discussion about this, not a decision that will be reached by the ministry alone. It is a decision that will present that these are the data that we've gotten, what do we do? Some might be merged, some might be closed, I don't know. It is something that we'll need to deal with at that point once we have the discussion. So it is for us to keep an open mind so that we can get the best solution in terms of the schools that we have to have in our country vis-a-vis the numbers of the students that we have. I think that is the clarification I just wanted to make.
Okay, let's now go to the next question by Senator Professor Tom Ojenda. I'm told Senator Beatrice Owora will ask on his behalf. Thank you. We are visiting teachers and students from Vuria Girls Secondary School in Machakos County. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this morning visiting teachers and students from Vuria Girls Secondary School in Moara constituency, Machakos County. The delegation comprises 2 teachers and 49 students who are visiting the Senate for an academic exposition. Honorable Senators, on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful and enriching visit in the Senate. Thank you. And 1 minute, we can have one of the senators welcome them to the Senate, Senator Mutinda. Can see you have a lot of interest in this school.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I have some interest. You know, when you mentioned Vulia Girls, it's where my elder sister studied, and I used to come and visit her. I've just now gotten keener and seen the uniform. That's the same uniform my big sister used to wear. I take this opportunity to welcome Vulia Girls from Machakos County to the Senate. On also behalf of your Senator, Senator Agnes Kavindu, who is on other engagements, and on behalf of the Senate, want to really encourage you, beautiful young girls, that education is the only weapon, that nobody is going to take it away from you. Enjoy your studies and follow the rules and regulations. As you can see here, we also have a speaker that we have to adhere to what he communicates. So I wish you God's blessing, and I'm happy today you are privileged to also meet the Minister of Education, who's also in this house, as we are trying to see how matters education are moving forward in this country. Thank you and God bless you.
Very well. Senator Beatrice Ogora.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I rise to ask the question on behalf of Senator Professor Tom Ojienda, Senior Counsel, and MP, the Senator of Kisumu County. Honorable Speaker, I also want to comment on the proposal that had been alleged to be made about merging of schools by the CS. That must be considered widely against access to basic education and the fact that we have emerging issues, especially the violation of even girls as they walk to schools. So that must be considered widely. Honorable Speaker, I rise to question.
I want to give you some advice. Next time, you
kindly
go straight to the question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know I always do that. Honorable Speaker, this is on question number 7. The question is to the CS, could the Cabinet Secretary provide an update on inquiries or actions taken regarding misreporting or manipulation of the 2025 Kenya Junior School Education Assessment results and clarify findings and accountability measures applied? 2, what mechanisms are in place to safeguard transparency, accuracy, and credibility of national assessments under the competency-based education system, including the checks and balances built into the assessment process? 3, how does the ministry monitor schools' adherence to reporting standards and ensure strategies are in place to prevent the dissemination of misleading or inaccurate assessment information? And lastly, on that question, Mr. Speaker, sir, could the Cabinet Secretary outline corrective actions taken where misreporting has been identified, providing a clear timeline for full implementation of reforms or sanctions? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to reply as follows to the 4 aspects of the question. Mr. Speaker, at the outset, I wish to confirm that the ministry is not aware of any cases of misreporting or manipulation of the 2025 KJSEA results. The results, as released by NEC, were accurate and have been used to place the learners to grade 10 with a 99% transition rate. The Kenya Junior Secondary School Education Assessment is a summative assessment taken by grade 9 learners at the completion of their junior school. It is an assessment designed to identify each learner's strengths, aptitudes, and interests, ensuring that every child is placed in an environment where they can thrive. KJSEA does not provide an aggregate score because competency-based education is about nurturing individual potential, not ranking learners. Each subject is assessed independently, and learners' achievements are reported using performance levels and not aggregate scores. This fits the purpose of junior school, which is to help learners understand their interests and strengths in order to select appropriate pathways for senior school. Learners' performance is categorized into the following 4 levels: exceeding expectation, which is EE, meeting expectation, ME, approaching expectation, AE, and below expectation, BE. To ensure differentiation for purposes of placement of learners in senior school, each level of performance is subdivided into 2 bands. For instance, the level exceeding expectation comprises EE1 and EE2, where EE1 denotes a higher degree of exceeding expectations and EE2 denotes a lower degree. The introduction of these bands distinguishes exemplary performance from good performance. Once the percentage score for each learner is computed per subject, NEC reports the learner's subject score and awards points for the subject. We have provided a table there that presents the performance levels and points used to report a learner's performance for subjects in KJSEA. For 2025, exceeding expectation, we used EE1, 8 points, EE2, 7 points, meeting expectation, ME1, 6 points, ME2, 5 points, approaching expectation, AE1, 4 points, AE2, 3 points, and below expectation, BE1, 2 points, and BE2, 1 point. Each level has 2 bands, EE1 and EE2, for example, to distinguish exceptional performance from good performance. Points are assigned per subject only for reporting purposes, but these points are not to be added up as the score is not an aggregate. On the pathway strengths, a formula is used that takes into account the cluster subjects used to determine a learner's strength in each pathway. This generates a strength score for each pathway ranging from 0 to 75. The higher the score, the greater the learner's demonstrated potential in that pathway. It is important to note that a learner's final performance comprises the following per subject: 20% from the Kenya Primary Education Assessment at grade 6, 20% from the secondary-based assessment from the senior school secondary, the junior school-based assessment, grade 7 and grade 8, and 60% is from the KJSEA summative exam at grade 9. Mr. Speaker, before implementing assessments at each level, NEC conducts a pilot study to assure credibility. NEC has conducted the following pilots. Number 1, Kenya Early Year Assessment Pilot Study, which was conducted in 2018 in preparation for the first KEYA done in 2019. Number 2, Kenya Primary School Education Assessment Pilot Study conducted in 2021 in preparation for the first KEPSEA done in 2022, and Kenya Junior Secondary Education Assessment Pilot Study conducted in 2024 in preparation for the first KJSEA done in 2025. The conduct of pilot studies enables NEC to test the assessment items and structure questions, as well as the assessment timings, to ensure that the assessments are of quality and meet the objectives of the assessment at the given level. It is through the pilot studies that the sample papers are moderated and shared with the schools to sensitize them on what to expect during the actual assessment. Pilot studies also provide an opportunity for public participation by the main stakeholders. These stakeholders get an opportunity to provide their views on how assessment at the level should be done, and this input is considered when developing the final papers. We also undertook retooling programs where information was shared on the competency-based assessment framework to enhance transparency in the assessment procedures and processes. The test development processes is based on the specifications of the curriculum designs and has inbuilt quality control measures to ensure the items meet internationally accepted standards and regulations. Further regulations outlining the assessments process, the grading and reporting of assessments, including for KJSEA, which are disseminated for use by schools. In addition, scores and grades of learners are validated before the release of the assessment results to ensure that the subject scores and the combination of the percentages are correct. Further validation is done to ensure that the pathway strengths have been correctly computed before the results are released. As part of transparency and accountability, upon release of the results, key statistics are shared with the media and on public platforms such as the NEC website, where candidates' attainment is summarized. Mr. Speaker, all the schools have an account on the competency-based assessment portal that is used to manage the school-based assessment and also provides a platform for the reporting of learners' attainment in the CBE. Schools receive communication on when the school-based assessments will be conducted, when to access the assessment tools on the CBA portal, and the timeline set for uploading of the learner scores. Teachers are provided with scoring guides and rubrics to ensure uniformity in scoring across all the schools in the country. Physical checks are also done across schools to confirm that assessments projects have been implemented and evidence of learners' work corresponds with the awards given by the teachers who are also supported by the staff from NEC. Learner scores are uploaded together with evidence of the learner's work, which is cross-checked to confirm compliance with set assessment standards. During the KJSEA summative assessment, NEC deploys supervisors and invigilators to administer the summative assessments and to ensure that no learner gets undue advantage of another. Summative assessments comprise both objective and structured questions to ensure adequate coverage of the curriculum designs provided by KICD for the junior school level and provide an adequate opportunity for the learners to demonstrate their competencies. The scoring of summative assessments is automated for the objective items, and the examiners are recruited to score the structured questions. Quality assurance checks are incorporated in the scoring processes for both the automated and examiner-marked items. Mr. Speaker, as earlier indicated, there was no misreporting or manipulation of the 2025 KJSEA results. However, to ensure that there is proper and effective understanding of the competency-based assessment framework, we organize forums for awareness creation and capacity building. For instance, since 2024, NEC has been holding an annual stakeholder symposium to discuss assessments. This year's symposium will be held between the 4th and 8th of May 2026 at the Mitiani House in Nairobi. Teacher retooling has also provided a platform for teachers to better understand assessment in CBE. In addition, we have established the Educational Assessment Resource Center, a department dedicated to building teachers' assessment capacity through a modular online program offered at no cost. Mr. Speaker, we have also established 530 hub schools across junior and senior schools to serve as centers for sustainable incubation, support, and dissemination of CBA reforms under the CBE framework. In addition to these awareness creation initiatives, NEC maintains an inquiry desk to clarify any issues and offer support to schools and other stakeholders on the competency-based assessment framework. I submit.
Honorable CS, thank you for your response. That is to question 007, which was asked by Senator Beatrice on behalf of Senator Professor Tom Ojenda. I will allow Senator Beatrice to ask you any supplementary question from 007.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. CS, we appreciate all the effort you continue to make, but most teachers still carry out assessment like 844. And the GSS teachers still need serious retooling to cope with the CBE. My supplementary question to the CS is, Honorable CS, there were learning areas in GSS that were not done, and because you and me and all Kenyans knew that there were lack of instructors for certain learning areas over a period of time. What measures is the ministry putting in place to address this amidst the transition to senior school? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable CS, what I will do just take note of the questions. I've got only 2 requests here. I believe Senator Nyutu and Onyonka have got supplementary questions to CS. I would take all of them so that you respond once to all the supplementary questions. So, Senator Nyutu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Why CBE was conceived, Mr. Speaker, was to be able to identify competencies of learners. It was to allow us to have an education system where we would depart from assessment of learners just on exams and sitting of exams, Mr. Speaker. And I have been able to follow through the response by the CS. And I have not seen any point, explaining to us exactly how do we onboard the parent or the caregiver of a child in trying to identify the competency of a child. Of course, I've seen him talking about symposiums, but do we have symposiums for parents? Are we sensitizing parents more? Are we involving parents in identifying the competencies? Because, Mr. Speaker, if we place a learner in a pathway where they do not have competency in, then we lose that learner. So, Mr. Speaker, I would want the CS, through you, to explain to us exactly what he and the ministry is doing to see to it that there is participation of the parents, and that there are also other ways of identifying these particular competencies, including observation. And exactly how do we see that we do not lose a learner by placing them in the wrong pathway? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Joe. Lastly, Senator Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. CS, there is a question I had, a supplementary question I'd asked on the question of the HR audit of the number of teachers that we have in the Republic. You said the process is taking on place right now, and I was going to ask whether you're prepared yourself to make sure that we then cascade it down to all the county governments and all the wards, so that you understand that what I'm looking at is the inclusivity. Is there a possibility that we can have a record to know which areas have got more teachers that they don't need and those areas that have less, so that we can begin to balance out the numbers? Thank you.
Honorable CS, check the 3 questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This just to confirm that NEC has free online training programs for all the teachers. The curriculum design for CBE was done in 2018. And in that curriculum design, the teachers were given a document that has a curriculum, the assessments, and what they are supposed to do in each subject. So the subjects that were in junior school were actually taught and assessed. There were no subjects that were not taught, and there were no subjects that were not assessed if they were taught. There are no subjects that were left out. In fact, after the Presidential Working Party, there was an harmonization of the subjects from 14 to 9 to ensure that there is no overload of our learners. Parents are involved in this particular exercise of competency-based. It is just not exams, because what happens is there is a 20% mark that you get, class-based assessment that you get when you are doing your projects, which projects some include the participation of the parents. I think if you know that there are parents who are saying this exercise is too expensive because we are being told to do work with our children. That is the involvement of the parents in order for the children for the parents to participate in the children's activities. And the stakeholder engagements that we normally have, parents are invited. Parents associations come on board, we have discussions with them, and whatever they raise, we take into account and we make the necessary adjustments and give them the support that they require. The schools are also required to engage with the parents as they progress with the children. In fact, the design of CBE is such that there are 2 reports that are given to each school. One is a school report that would say the subjects that you are dealing with require this kind of adjustment, and also individual students' reports to indicate where the strengths are or the weaknesses are and what adjustments need to be done. In order for a child to be placed in a particular pathway, it is a continuous process from grade 1 all the way to grade 9, and that building will have indicated where the child is likely to fall toward, what their competencies are in, the skills are in, their interests are in. And that is how we've been able to place students at 51% STEM, 38% social sciences, and 11% sports science. So it is a process that cascades, that is continuous, and it keeps adjusting so that we are not only relying on the exam, which was the 844 kind of system, so that whatever you've done for the 8 years, if you do not get marks in the exam of 844, you do not progress. That is not how CBE is designed. It is designed for you to get something continuously as you do your studies. The question on the HR question that Honorable Nyonka has asked, it is true that we now want to cascade that analysis down to what we require. For example, I have indicated we have now 51% STEM, 38% social sciences, and 11% sports. It means that we have to recalibrate even our programs in universities and in our training institutions to reflect these percentages, so that we do not have, for example, that we don't have an inverted sort of pyramid where you might be having more teachers for subjects that have got less learners. And going forward, and as we speak, we've had the first meetings with universities, and we are now working towards the curriculum for 2029 for universities, which will reflect what the competency-based education requires for our students, so that we align, so that we do not have teachers that are overloaded in one subject and underloaded in another. So we are doing that using the numbers, and will cascade across the board. Thank you.
Senator Newton, what is it that you want to say? The Honorable CS has responded.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. You know, the matter that we are discussing in this particular session is of great national importance, Mr. Speaker. And the CS has responded to my question and said that the matter of identifying a child's potential, strengths and weaknesses is a continuous matter right from grade 1 to grade 9. So just one point. Can we then, if it is a continuous matter, can we be able then to say in which particular pathway we'll place a student even before the summative assessment at grade 9? Because if you have been doing it properly, then we should be able to place a learner even without having any regard to this summative assessment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honorable CS, is that something that you can say a comment on? I know you had run us through the process of identification of a child's pathway from grade 1 to 9, but just in a quick response to what Senator John Yutu is seeking your clarification on, if you may say something.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Speaker. Yes, you would get an indication of where the child's pathway or interest is. But also, there are children sometimes who cut across, who have shown competencies across the board. So the weight that I indicated about that is between 0 and 75 that has been building is what actually tilts the balance, and the child chooses where to go. But as a school and as a parent, with the continuous assessment that is taking place, you would see where the child is likely to go to. And CBE is designed in a way that there is not going to be a child who does not excel in something, so that we are going to have a transition rate that is likely going to be higher than what we've ever had. Because in every pathway, you would have something that you would be able to be interested in. And even within the pathways, there are tracks. What we probably need to do, Mr. Speaker, is we probably need to have a retreat between ourselves and the senators here to go through that aspect. In a retreat, we might have more time to explain, and our experts would be there to give you more information. It's a bit complicated, and because of the 844 system, many people thought that if you have 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, you excelled and you have more. But what was important was the weight of the cluster subjects that was between 0 and 75. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Honorable members, I take note of the time, and we still have got one last question, which I would like to invite Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, now that you are present in the chamber, to ask the question number 008.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, question number 008 is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Education, the Honorable Julius Ongamba. Part A, could the Cabinet Secretary provide a report on government-funded extracurricular and talent development programs in Kisumu County for the period 2022 to date, highlighting measurable achievements such as skills advancement, participation rates, and progression of children into competitive platforms. 2, what systemic challenges have been identified as key barriers in implementing these programs, particularly regarding equitable access for all children, coordination between schools and community centers, and oversight and accountability in program delivery. Part C, how does the ministry ensure efficient deployment of allocated resources for talent development, and what monitoring and evaluation mechanisms are used to detect gaps in inefficiencies and underperformance? And lastly, what targeted strategies are in place to ensure inclusion of marginalized or under-resourced children, with specific focus on initiatives for sustainable talent identification, mentorship pathways, and long-term support structures? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yes, the CS.
Thank you, Professor. Honorable CS, it's your turn to respond to the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to reply to the 4 aspects of the question as follows. Mr. Speaker, the government is committed to promoting extracurricular and talent development programs as an integral pillar of holistic education and learner development. These programs are implemented through structured co-curricular frameworks coordinated by institutions such as the Kenya Secondary Schools Sports Association, the Kenya Primary and Junior School Sports Association, the Kenya Science and Engineering Fair, the Kenya Music Festival and Drama and Films Festival, as well as innovation and creative arts platforms. These initiatives are aligned with a competency-based education framework which emphasizes talent identification, nurturing of learners' abilities, and the development of competencies beyond purely academic achievement. Between 2022 and 2025, Kisumu County has actively participated and recorded measurable progress in government-supported co-curricular programs. At present, 617 public primary schools and 232 secondary schools in Kisumu County participate annually in organized co-curricular activities and competitions. During the 2025 Kisumu County Secondary School Ball Games, 160 secondary schools competed in disciplines including football, volleyball, netball, basketball, lawn tennis, and table tennis. The football competition alone featured over 20 teams with representation from all the sub-counties of the county. In addition, Kisumu County has hosted regional competitions and national co-curricular events under the Kenya Secondary School Sports Association framework, thereby expanding exposure and competitive opportunities for learners. The county has also hosted regional talent training camps organized by the Kenya Academy of Sports, which bring together promising athletes identified through school competitions. In term 1, for example, of 2026, co-curricular calendar, Kisumu County will be hosting the athletics from primary to senior schools, as well as the special needs sports activities. Through these programs, the learners develop competencies in athletics and team sports, in performing arts and creative expression, in leadership, teamwork and discipline, and also sportsmanship and national cohesion. The Kenya Academy of Sports has conducted 2 regional talent camps in Kisumu, attracting more than 500 student athletes from across the Nyanza region. These camps provide specialized training in discipline such as football, basketball, volleyball, tennis, rugby, and swimming. The ministry maintains a working arrangement with the Kenya Academy of Sports to facilitate talent identification, mentorship, and elite athlete development. Through this collaboration, promising student athletes are identified and enrolled in specialized training pathways. For example, in December 2025, a regional elite camp was held at Kisumu Boys High School, where student athletes received specialized coaching from national team trainers. In addition to technical sports, training participants were mentored and taken through life skills programs aimed at supporting their long-term development. The ministry ensures inclusivity in these programs by engaging all schools without discrimination. Talent scouting is also conducted by qualified scouts and includes learners from diverse backgrounds, including students with special education needs and disabilities. The structured national school competition framework enables learners to progress through successive levels, namely ward and sub-county competitions, county championships, regional competitions, national championships, and the East African Schools Games. Kisumu County learners have consistently progressed through these levels, and the notable outcomes are as follows: 2 students securing soccer scholarships at Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, 3 female athletes joining the Harambee Starlet Development Program, 13 learners selected to participate in the Kenya Academy of Sports Elite Camp in Nairobi. In the performing arts, Kisumu County schools have also recorded commendable achievements. Schools such as Onjiko Boys High School, Chulaimbo Boys High School, St. Mark's Obambo Secondary School, Kisumu Girls High School, and Rai Kanyaika Primary School have represented the county at the Drama Festival state concerts between 2023 and 2025. Similarly, Otienoyo Secondary School, Kochogo Mixed Secondary School, Rai Kanyaika Primary School, and Migosi Primary and Junior School have participated in the Kenya Music Festival national platforms. Learners with special needs education from Kisumu County have also progressed to the national level of competitions between 2022 and 2025, demonstrating the inclusive nature of these programs. In 2025, Agai Secondary School qualified for the East African Secondary School Soccer Championship, while Kisumu Girls High School and Rai Kanyaika Primary School advanced to the East African Drama Festivals. These achievements contribute to the broader national development agenda under Kenya's Vision 2030, which recognizes sports and creative industries as important drivers of youth empowerment, social cohesion, and economic development. Mr. Speaker, while the progress recorded is encouraging, the ministry recognized several systemic challenges that continue to affect the optimal implementation of the extracurricular and talent development programs. We continue to work with stakeholders to progressively address these challenges. Mr. Speaker, firstly, these challenges include infrastructure and resource constraints, which remain a big challenge in some schools. A number of institutions lack adequate sports fields, modern training facilities, specialized equipment, and trained coaching personnel. Secondly, there's unequal access to opportunities, which continues to persist in some instances, particularly for learners in under-resourced or geographically remote schools who may have limited exposure to structured competitions and professional training opportunities, such as learners who do not have standard sports kits like adequate tennis and badminton kits. Thirdly, we have challenges in coordination occasionally arising among stakeholders that include schools, community sports clubs, county governments, and national sports federations. Strengthening partnerships among these actors remain our priority. Fourthly, we have integrity and compliance challenges, which have historically arisen from the use of manual registration systems, which were vulnerable to irregularities such as impersonation, age cheating, and falsified documentation. To address this, the ministry introduced the mandatory digital registration of student athletes through the Kenya Secondary School Sports Association portal, which is integrated to our National Education Management Information System. This digital platform enables verification of learners against official education records and significantly enhances transparency and integrity in competitions. Mr. Speaker, on monitoring, the ministry has established a comprehensive governance and accountability framework to ensure efficient deployment of resources and effective monitoring of extracurricular programs, and programs implementation is also coordinated through institutional structures, including the Director of Field Coordination and Co-curricular Activities, regional co-curricular committees, county co-curricular committees, sub-county co-curricular committees, national and regional sports secretariats. Monitoring and evaluation are conducted through several mechanisms, including the annual reporting framework submitted by the sub-county and county education officials, analysis of participation and rates and competitive outcomes, inspections and verification exercises conducted by quality assurance and standards officers during competitions, digital monitoring systems, particularly the Kenya Schools Sports Association Athletic Registration Platform, which is integrated with KEMIS. These mechanisms strengthen the transparency, they detect inefficiencies, and ensure prudent use of public resources. Mr. Speaker, to ensure inclusion of marginalized and under-resourced learners, the ministry has implemented targeted strategies aimed at ensuring inclusive participation and sustainable talent development for all learners. These include, firstly, school-based talent identification, which ensures that teachers and coaches identify and nurture talent within schools, regardless of socioeconomic background. Secondly, the progressive national competition structure from ward level all the way to national level that ensures that learners from even the most remote schools have an opportunity to advance based on merit. And thirdly, the competency-based education framework integrates talent development into the education process through sports, creative arts, and innovation activities. Fourthly, the ministry supports mentorship programs that include competition platforms and partnerships with sports federations and development agencies, ensuring that learners from marginalized communities receive opportunities for talent development and long-term support. These interventions collectively contribute to the development of sustainable national talent pathways. We submit.
Thank you, Honorable CS, for that particular response. Professor Tom Ojenda, Senator, you have got an opportunity to ask two supplementary questions, if you must, and which are related to the primary question. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have no doubt that CS Ongamba is one of the best performing CSS, and since his tenure, I think we have seen a lot of improvement in the education sector. But Mr. Speaker, I have two questions. Maybe one question interconnected. CS Ongamba, when are you releasing the capitation that was promised to Nyakach Girls High School? And secondly, and you could just tell us timelines, I have no problem with that. And secondly, the capitation that is due or should be given to Kisumu Boys High School. I don't know whether you are able to indicate precisely when these will be released. Thank you, CS.
Thank you, Honorable CS. If it's in order, I've got quite a number of requests here. Just take note, just like in the earlier question 007, take note of the supplementary questions so that we take the first and last round. You respond to all of them at once. I will give Honorable Beatrice Akinyi an opportunity to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. CS, so far you are doing so well, but I wanted to tell you that talents are not well nurtured due to the limited resources given to schools. For example, CS, they voted, you give, they are given, yes, for example, yes, is given like 100 shillings per student. And yet, it is the same 100 that the school use to support the county and sub-county offices in the co-curriculum activities. It means then that the schools remain with nothing to nurture activities in their schools and in their zones. What do you intend to do as a ministry to get the schools out of this quagmire?
Senator Mungatana Danson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wanted the CS to tell the nation the official policy on support or resourcing of extracurricular activities. This is the reason I'm asking. Every time, Mr. Speaker, we have school drama festivals in Tana River, or we have athletics competition or football competitions, we, without fail, we get requests for fundraising, we get requests for fuel, we get requests for... So we wanted to know, what is the official policy on this? Is there resourcing for it? And if not, what is the way forward? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Onyonka Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like, first of all, to laugh at myself, because initially I thought that if I was to say how my brother, the CS Education, has actually meticulously answered these questions and he has done well, somebody might be wondering whether I'm biased because I come from the same county that we come from. I believe and I'm proud of the excellence of the CS. And sir, I think you've done quite well. The only thing that I would like to make a follow-up on is the issue of the capitation. CS, we are constantly receiving information at the background how some schools receive their capitation and others do not. Again, my genuine and honest concern has always been that I think it's because the system, the structure that you're using, whether it's the financial platform, how this money is released, and of course, because I sit in the budget committee, I'm aware that funds are always late in release from the exchequer. Since you are having cabinet meetings with the president and your fellow colleagues, is this matter a matter that you think you as a CS, maybe you could come and sit with the budget and finance committee where I sit, so that then we can come up with a solution on how capitation money is released on time, is released to the right schools and to the right people, so that our children and our students can go to school and achieve what the targeted agenda is. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I hope you, I hope this year is good luck and keep doing the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lastly, Senator Mutinda Maureen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I still want to really appreciate the Waziri for this detailed report for Kisumu County. Then it gives me the concern of the other counties, but if I would narrow even to Nairobi County, because you know, being in the city, there's so much and beautiful talent. Would you be able to confirm to this House that the same also as output is also in this particular city? And then just quickly, CS, what happens to these talents that have excelled during these music festivals? You get the #1 students, the ones that have emerged the best. Where does that end? What do you do as a ministry? How do you progress that particular talent? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, before you respond, Professor Tomo Gender needs to correct the question in terms of reference to capitation rather than infrastructure, so that you respond appropriately. Take note of the time, Professor Tomo Gender.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I was referring to is the infrastructure support that the CS promised Nyakach Girls High School. And CS, the second question was whether you have any plans to support Kisumu Boys High School, which has a high population of students and has infrastructure needs.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond to those 5 supplementary questions.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that we made a promise to support Nyakach girls, but because of fiscal constraints, we've not had sufficient resources in the infrastructure fund to support all the schools that require it. But I do promise that we will ensure that we give them the support they require as we receive the resources. It's part of those schools that we gave a promise, and we'll be able to give them that support. That also goes to Kisumu Boys, and not just Kisumu Boys, but all the schools that require support. We are working towards ensuring that we give them the infrastructure support in the wider context of the resources that we receive and the distribution of these resources to our various institutions. Yes, we have a challenge with the resources in terms of ensuring that talent is well nurtured, but I want to confirm that the county and the CDE, for example, the sub-county directors, the county directors, and the RDEs are not supposed to be receiving resources from the 100 that is supposed to support school-based activities. We do give them their independent AIEs, which they are supposed to utilize, and if somebody is then getting money from the school, then that is an illegality, and administrative action would be taken once we have that report. But over and above that, the competency-based education has now 3 pathways, one of which is sports and arts. What we want to do as a ministry is to mainstream that activity so that it's no longer an extracurricular activity, but it's part and parcel of the programs of the school that will be financed through the resources that we give in terms of capitation, so that we avoid this situation where it is being looked at something that is not mainstream, that needs to be supported from elsewhere. That goes to the issue of the official policy in terms of the support that various individuals and partners, including members of parliament and yourselves, give to these schools when they have extracurricular activities. There is no official policy that they need to get support from you. It is voluntary, and this arises because the resources that we give them is not sufficient, so they try and look for support from partners. And this is why we are saying that now the CBE, which has the 3 pathways, will work on that aspect so that they have enough resources to conduct their activities outside it being looked at as extracurricular or looking for support from other places. Capitation has been a problem in this country for many years, and it has sometimes come late, and sometimes it does not come in full. And that's why we undertook that verification exercise, so that you have the exact number of learners at each level, and that will inform the actual amount of resources that we require, and so that for us to be able to meet the policy of 1,420 primary and 15,040 junior school and 22,240 secondary school, will be able to work with the budget committee so that our budget is not reduced and it is given as presented. It's something that is of concern, but we are working with the National Treasury to ensure that we resolve that issue once and for all. One of the other issues that is on the table is to try and see how to align the financial year to the academic year so that there is no discrepancy in the resources that are given. In terms of the support that we give to our counties, like Kisumu, Nairobi County also participates exactly the same way that Kisumu participates. But we are, as I said, working to mainstream this particular aspect of sport and arts and to ensure that all our children get a chance to participate if they are interested in. What we've also suggested, and we are working with the Ministry of Sports, is to create a further pathway so that where these young ones are very talented, they can transition to an academy at the level of a university. There's a team that is already working on how to structure that and what it would cost between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Sports to form that academy for sports and arts, so that if somebody is very good in music, they can be able to transition and not necessarily go to the regular universities, but go to that academy which will be international in order for them to be able to commercialize their talent. Currently, we are doing it through KICD, but it is not enough. We need to expand it and make it something that is of pride so that we can have many people coming into that space. So we are doing something and we're just working on the numbers, including these particular statistics, so that we can start allocating resources to where they are required based on the information that we have. And I want to thank you for your support as a House. Thank you very much.
Honorable CS, thank you for your response. Honorable members, I've got prior commitments by the Honorable CS, and in terms of time, in the event that it spills over to 1 o'clock, I will extend for 5 minutes so that the CS can also give a commitment on when he will submit. And Honorable CS, these are your prior commitments in the questions that you have previously appeared before the plenary to ask. This House did direct that for purposes of implementation of those commitments, we remind you at any time that you come by the plenary on those commitments which are yet to be honored. One, Honorable CS, is as regards the question by Honorable Senator Justice Retired Stewart Mazayo of 1st of October 2025. This was on the question on the beneficiaries of the Elimu and Wings to Fly scholarship in Kilifi County. You had committed to submit details on that, together with a list of schools in that county that have benefited. Secondly, on 1st of October 2025 also, a status report on the question by Senator Sifuna Edwin of Nairobi on the question on the people who've been prosecuted for the offenses of statutory rape across the country and in Kilifi County specifically since 2024. Third commitment, the question by Senator Wakili Sigei on the status of completion of the hostel construction of Bomet University. This was on the 6th of August 2025, and the steps taken by your ministry to protect public interest in the ongoing cases of property belonging to the University of Bomet. Fourth commitment, Honorable CS, is on the question by Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Majority Leader. This is probably wrong. This is actually a question by Senator Joyce Korir, not Senate Majority Leader, and Senator Professor Margaret Kamar on a county per county breakdown on the number of unemployed teachers who are yet to be observed by the Teachers Service Commission, as well as a breakdown on the number of ECD teachers who've been employed. Fifth commitment is questioned by Senator Catherine Muma of 7th of May 2025 on the enrollment of students in TVET institutions for the year 2025, plus 2 other commitments thereof on subject to do with public schools in Mathare and Mukuru, Kibra, and other informal settlements in Nairobi City County. 6 commitment to the question by Dr. Boni Halwale, Senator, of 7th of May 2025 on information on the amount of money set aside for construction of student hostels at Shamberere and Sigalagala National Polytechnics. 7, commitment to the question by Senator Gataya Mofaya on 7th of May 2025 on information when the government will disburse Kenya shillings 8 million to Kamutuandu Primary School in Gatunga Ward in Tharaka Nithi County for infrastructure development. 8 is the commitment to the question by Senator Mariam Omar on 7th of May 2025 as well on the plans by the ministry to integrate the madrasa into the main school system. And lastly, commitment to the question by Senator Daniel Manso on 7th of May 2025, as well as Catherine Muma on the same date on information on whether Makueni County had been reclassified as a non-hardship area for teachers, and if so, provide justification. Honorable CS, we will give you this particular schedule so that if you have not responded to them previously, submit to the House the status of those commitments which you have made. And lastly, I would like to appreciate you for always being available, always being on top of your responsibility as a CS. The House will forever be grateful for the responses that you give to the House. I'm actually being notified, Honorable CS, that those were already submitted to your office. So what the House requires of you then to do is to submit a status report on these prior commitments. Yes, it's your turn, CS, to comment before we close for the day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to confirm that those commitments have been met. We've supplied all the information to the House, and we are available to clarify or submit any other information on it that may be required. And we can either do that through the Committee on Education so that we can then progress from there. And I want to thank you for the support that you've given us. Thank you very much.
CS, before the House rise, based on your response just on these prior commitments, you have undertaken, I believe that was your statement, that you will submit these to the respective committees. The House will pick up with the relevant chairpersons of the committees so that that report gets to the plenary and for the members who are following up on those commitments. So kindly make sure that those reports gets to those relevant committees as soon as is possible. Otherwise, once again, thank you for coming to respond to the questions in this House. We look forward, as always, to having you here because that is the only way to serve the people of Kenya in our various capacities. Once again, thank you, Honorable CS. Thank you, Honorable Members. The House may now rise. Honorable Senators, on later interruption of business of the House, pursuant to Standing Order 34.2a, having concluded the business for which I extended the House of sitting pursuant to Standing Order 34.2a, the Senate stands adjourned until later today, Wednesday, 11th of March, 2026 at 2:30 p.m.